Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to Daily Update on my 1000 Day Challenge. This is day 799, so let's get things started. Alright, do a very quick run through itself as today is a Saturday, just a weekly update through across the market. So looking in terms of weekly candlestick itself, I did mention that the daily chart, we definitely do lean towards bearish momentum. But bearing in mind that if you look across the board, if you switch in terms of the weekly chart itself, it did form like a green inverted kind of hammer candlestick pattern for the traditional financial market for both US and China equity market itself. So by itself, this single candlestick, when it forms right at the bottom of this kind of a downtrend itself, it's not entirely bearish in that sense. But of course, it's not entirely bullish, but it's not entirely bearish. So I lean towards more like a consolidation or a neutral kind of a standpoint, or even perhaps a weak little bounce along the way until we see a very strong clear formation on the daily or even on the weekly chart itself before we can see a very strong swing towards the upside or even the downside in that case. And because this is the 200 simple moving average on the weekly chart, I do see that we could potentially still be supporting over here in the coming few weeks until we see a very clear, direct, decisive break towards the upside or the downside in that sense. Because clearly we are not very likely to actually just break towards the downside directly, at least in the terms of the S&P 500 itself. On the other hand, Nasdaq does look a little bit more bearish because we have closed consecutive 2 weeks below the 200 simple moving average on the weekly chart. So that's definitely something that we do not want to see. Right now, downside wise, we definitely do have over here, which is the 10K region itself, because both in terms of a daily horizontal support and also in terms of a psychological barrier itself of the 5-digit mark itself. All right, and moving along in terms of ASH itself, I also do lean to such of a neutral to even a bullish kind of a potential bounce in territory in that sense, because even though on the daily chart we have clearly rejected off the weekly high itself, but bearing in mind that technically this is still very close to a kind of bullish engulfing candlestick itself, and volume wise is still rather decent. I wouldn't say it's strong, but it's still pretty decent in that sense. So if we can see a continuation towards the upside and break this weekly high itself, then that will give a confirmation that we are very likely to see a confirmation bounce. On the other hand, if we actually do just break below over here, then definitely we still do lean towards the target of 25.60 over the $25 region itself. And moving along in terms of KMAP itself, similarly, it formed the inverted green hammer-like candlestick formation itself. So I still lean to some of neutral kind of territory itself because similarly here was a pretty decent support. Really consolidated here for a little while before we have a very strong bounce to the upside. And then now we are falling right again. And this time around the fall is a little bit more gentle compared to over here, a very steep drop and then a very steep drop. This time it took us from 5th of July all the way to here, which is like around 3 months in a sense before we actually did see the kind of a sharp drop before we actually reach the same point itself. So this for a very certain fact shows the lack of a selling momentum in that sense. So we could see a potential consolidation or perhaps a bounce towards the upside. And if only if the bounce is another weak bounce again, then we could potentially break this sort of relative decisive fall as well. And finally, similarly for Bitcoin itself, the weekly candlestick haven't closed, so let's see how things goes. If it does close somewhere along here, I still similarly lean to kind of neutral to even slightly bullish kind of a territory itself, because even we are at the support itself, and secondly over here we have a very sharp drop, we have a very decent bounce, and then we have a very weak drop, and then we have a very strong bounce thereafter, and that will give a very clear confirmation sign in that sense. But bearing in mind we have a very clear resistance over here near these 200 simple and exponential moving average on the weekly chart. So there's something definitely to take note of. And then over here, we still need to clearly and decisively break over the 50 simple moving average on the daily chart to show even the potential signs of strength in that sense. All right, so I'm not looking to enter a short or long in that sense simply because we're right now a little bit consolidating over here. So what we do want to potentially see is a very strong break to the upside or the downside before we continue to look for a short setup. So for me over here, I'm not looking to enter a short even though the relatively flat kind of consolidation pattern itself. I would want the potential like a drop and then potential bounce. And then we do see a potential break towards the upside and then there's a very strong rejection, something like this or something like this, then I could perhaps look to enter a short. Until that kind of a very nice, distinct kind of a inverted kind of red hammer candlestick formation form, then I would not look to enter a short simply because it's rather a little bit choppy at this moment in time. All right, so with that said, I've come to the end of today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop by your comments below, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.